Okay, sorry about this. So in order to look how the education and practice of architecture can contribute to humanitarian action, let's go to try and understand the the underlying what do you call this description, description of humanitarian. Oh yeah, there's a name. Which is basically for humanity, better humanity for the society. And similarly, the task of architecture is the creation of human environment, which is belongs to the society. So there's a very strong link between those two. And I think throughout our years of being educated in architecture or design, and also throughout our practice, we understand this, yeah, or at least we know that this thing happened. Um, and again, to try to understand again the basic premise of this lecture, I would like to share a common model or some common models of architectural education and practice from 1919. This is basically what happens during the Bauhaus era, where uh, things are being looked in a narrow focus on design, where art, science, and technology is encapsulated under the big umbrella of design. So this happens quite long, for almost 50 years. Yeah, 50 years. And then in the 1970s, especially during the years of Alvin Boyarsky heading the AA School of Architecture, and with the advancement of science knowledge, scientific knowledge, the institutionalizing of science is put as a top priority, where design, humanities, and building technology the main focus of architecture, or the main direction of architecture education. And this evolved throughout time until very recently, 2012. And things change slightly again, slowly, but it changes, where it starts to be more liberal, yeah? And um, issues and trends and challenges in the humanity, in design and technology, being looked as part of the broader worldview of, the broad society. So those are the basic three common models of architectural education specifically, and also might be the evolution of architectural practice. But I'm very sure in the education world, these three models happened. But I'm not too sure about what happened in the practice world. And of course, recent years, we have witnessed extensive discussion on the concept or approach of transdisciplinary. And this happened not only in architecture, but also in other field of knowledge as well, where architectural design, user, and the rest are all being looked as important, interrelated, relevant pieces of knowledge of important elements that made up architectural education as a whole. And this is a proof, of course you can't see the detail, but this is the proof on what is happening in some of the major architectural schools in the world, where the threshold learning of outcomes are basically made up of design, technology, history and theory, practice, ecology, communication, and the list goes on and on and on and on. It's a very long list. And this evidence shows that we are on the right track. We are discussing the right, the relevant, important elements which made up this whole education. Yeah. However, those theoretical or framework or idealism in putting that transdisciplinary action rolls back to sort of like a business as usual thing, when the discussion is still bounded by the issue of form and content. Yeah. So what I mean by form and content, or maybe content as in context, is as the world is experiencing this, part of the world, some areas in the world, this is in Dhaka, is experiencing this. So this is the content or context. So other part of the world is having fun doing this, form. There's nothing wrong in this, yeah? I need to be very clear. There's nothing wrong in doing this too. But this leads me to the question that, are we trying to solve the 21st century problem with 19th century solutions? Because at the moment, maybe this is some of, what is happening, the new living environment. This is an example of a refugee camp, the largest refugee camp in, tu batuk bukan coronavirus tau, in Jordan. It's host of the Syrian refugee. This is in Zatari camp, which I think is slightly smaller than the size of the whole of Malacca. Very big, 1.4, 1.3 million household population. While in 1972, Rem Koolhaas wrote about Exodus, or the voluntary prisoners of architecture, it was 1972 at the AA. The real Exodus is happening now. This is also at the border of Syria and Jordan, where people are basically moving to save life. And it is not only unique to Syria, it also happened quite near, close to home. The new citizens of the world, the refugees, the migrants, yeah? And this is in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. I think you are all familiar or have heard about the Rohingya crisis. And yeah, these are the new citizens and their living environment. Issues of land change, yeah? Bukan submission land status apa land use change, yeah? But land change in what you call this natural way, and this is in Palu, Sulawesi Tengah, after the tsunami, after the earthquake, after the liquefaction. This is particularly the liquefaction. And some other basic issues of rights, yeah, or rights-based, for example, the right to safety, and it gets closer to the practice of architecture. The new normal, which is climate change. India, South Korea, no one has ever thought that South Korea would experience an extended drought, or no, not drought, what do you call this, heat wave. Yeah, in Penang, Malaysia is experiencing this quite, early. And then again, the basic issue of rights to clean water, right to breathe. These are all fundamental human rights. Yeah, the right to stay cool in Australia. So, what the humanitarian world is doing, at least on paper and some on the field, is that we have a common agenda, which is called Agenda for Humanity, and it outlines 5 important points: to prevent and end conflict, to respect rules of war, to leave no one behind. So at least this is good, the RAM for OKU. Working differently or creatively. Okay, architect, we need to take note here. Working differently to end needs is actually basically the demand for us to work innovatively, creatively. And lastly, to invest in humanity. So, bringing it closer to the context where I am practicing as a humanitarian is Mercy Malaysia, where we are doing this humanitarian development and building nexus for a better world. And our focus is basically humanitarian aid, but at the same time, is extended to development aid, development activities, to ensure that sustainability encapsulated in all of the humanitarian action or humanitarian service delivery that we provided, to make sure that the communities and places are more resilient, and also new development are risk-informed. Yeah. So humanitarian needs are addressed, and the vulnerability of people are hopefully to be reduced. So that is humanitarian. Now, the next question is, how can architecture contribute as a very powerful tool for humanitarianism? Because I was given only 20 minutes, so I'll just go quickly through case studies and pictures. So this is in 2005 in Aceh, after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Very basic intervention of putting up tents, IDP tents. Of course, some basic technology, lightweight structure, those kind of design elements. But what is more important is that this simple design thinking actually brings back dignity to the people. So this is what I think is important. It is not only about the smartness or the innovativeness in technology or technical design, but what but to question what is the main purpose. So in this case, the main purpose is to bring back dignity for the victims of the tsunami, to have at least shelter. And again, very basic shelter design, but strategic decision was made on why we decided to do it like this. Half brick, I mean not even half, and half timber. Because it is one, about to finish the project quickly, because we have, which is the Raya, way back in 2005, yeah? And we assume that if those people can get back to normal living, I mean, of course they can't get back to their normal living, but normal, they can get back to work and gain their livelihood, and they can expand their houses. And that is the reason why it is being built in such a way. So it is expandable. And if you go to, it is in Lok Nga, Aceh, Kampung Wuraya, you can't see traces, and you can't see the houses, but you can see the traces of the footprint, because it has all been expanded. And water and sanitation hygiene. I think the two speakers will elaborate more in some of their case studies, locally and internationally. Yeah. Again, the question of bringing back fundamental human rights, clean water. Yeah. And sadly, in Malaysia, I mean, if some of you don't know, we all know that Malaysia have abundance of water, natural water. But there are still 3 states in this country that is still below the national average, which are Kelantan, Sabah, and Sarawak. Water is a lot there, but clean water. So I think this is where I think Mercy, MRA, MyCare, our friends in MARET can work together. And of course, architects and engineers can work together to at least bring up that statistics of those 3 states to be above the national average. Kelantan, yeah. So this is how architectural knowledge or design thinking or planning can really help to solve fundamental issue. In the issue of Kelantan, even though it has been reported that, I mean, majority of them has received their house, their shelter, but I am sure that there are a few unresolved issues. And those problem actually underlies in the issue of land matters. So I think this is where architect can play their role, not only in designing houses, but in advising in land matters. I think this is also the case in Padang, in Palu, yeah. And of course, the construction are quite simple, very straightforward, quick, cheap, and will allow community participation. The local tukang, the local orang kampung, they can participate in rebuilding their own life, their own place. So this is what we did in Kelantan, in Kuala Kerai. And it doesn't stop there. It is not only about resolving land matters and building structures, but also to train them and to make them live, hopefully, happy again as a community. And some of our exploration, which sadly didn't materialize, but we did put an effort to propose it to the state government for some, what we call this, housing design proposals. And on a larger scale, for example, architects can also be of this initiative called disaster risk action. And one of it is to do risk mapping or hazard mapping, whether it is at a small scale, for example, a school, or a bigger scale of a city. In this case, is Kota Tinggi in Johor. So architects are very useful actually. Kita jangan rasa kita tak berguna pula. And this is in Myanmar, not Rakhine, not the place where the Rohingya crisis is happening, but in Chin State. This place is at risk from landslides, massive landslides, because of the local agricultural practices of the local community. So this is what we did, some studies on where and while we are doing this happened. And it's me yang ambil gambar tu. So we escaped this 5 minutes before the land moved. And this is how they lived. So this picture, this picture, it brought me question, why they decided to live like this? I mean, their decision to live like this has killed their family members, I'm sure, for generation. But there must be a reason why they still decided to live like this. Maybe it is the lack of awareness, maybe because the lack of technology, because Chin State is very far. It'll take you 24 hours to reach there from Yangon. So there must be a reason. So maybe, example lah kalau nak relate balik ke architecture, maybe the understanding, the very basic understanding of technical knowledge, of architectural knowledge, does not enter this area. Of course, in Sulawesi, again, because of the earthquake and tsunami. Very simple, very quick. We did this in less than a month, yeah. Of course, with the help of the disaster victims themselves, and to ensure that it can be erected quite quickly. Some design consideration were put, and training, basic trainings for the beneficiary were conducted so that they can participate in the rebuilding process. Kelantan, water sanitation, and yeah, very important, which I think many NGOs, including Mercy Malaysia, tend to forget. The management of knowledge and information, to document everything. One of my biggest mistakes that I was involved from not day one, but from very early, but we did not document it properly, the whole process. We completed 19 projects, and in that 19 projects, one is the construction of almost close to 300 shelter, and a rebuilding of a Type B in Indonesia, Type B hospital. Type B is 200 bed hospital. So we have that capacity, we have that technical knowledge, we have gone through the experience, but we did not document. That was, I think, one of the biggest mistakes that we do. So when I rejoined Mercy Malaysia, again, rejoined as a staff, this is one of my main agenda. So events like this, terima kasih sebab when you frequently invite us to do this sort of thing. So this is part of documentation. And our brothers, MRA, MyCare, yang lain, you need to start with this. Don't repeat our mistake 15 years ago. So again, just a summary, how can architectural knowledge contribute to this, to humanitarianism? A lot, yeah? Protection, food, education, health, basic needs, shelter, wash, you name it, everything you can contribute. Whether directly or indirectly, because this is the uniqueness or the power of architectural education. We have the ability, Jack architects, we have the ability to look beyond things. Yeah, we always look beyond things, and that is one of the main things that is required in humanitarianism. I always reminded my team, my colleagues in Mercy Malaysia, yes, we go to work, we go to mission, we talk about approaches, we talk about principles, we talk about program delivery, but sometimes we tend to not to talk about the philosophy of humanitarian. What's the purpose of us doing this? So I think that needs to be bring back again lah. So as a conclusion, while realizing that the knowledge of architecture can be so powerful, so we need to put greater ambitions to architecture. If there are teachers here, I think a prof, a teacher, we need to put greater ambition to architecture and start to ask critical questions. It may sound very, what do you call this, cliche, yeah? But start to ask questions like, can architecture be the link to assist in providing human securities? Very basic question. Is architectural education has the influence towards democratic institutions and societies? Maybe we have not asked us, or asked the students, or the professors, or the whole ecosystem of architecture. We have not asked this question, maybe. Or we can ask, can the act of architecture illuminates human development and progress? I'm sure the answer is all yes, yeah? But how is the next? So what's next? Simple proposition here. One, product innovation, which I think architects, designers, creative people can easily do. Yeah? Number two is policy innovation, which I think institutions like PAM and the National Disaster Management Agency can also do. And process innovation, and this is part of the process that we're going through. So that is the proposition. Working together as a consortium, as a NGO network, is something that we can think about after this. Because the world is changing. So ini bukan slide saya, ini saya curi daripada Dr. Jamilah, Tan Sri Dr. Jamilah, our founder. She's now the Under Secretary General in Red Crescent. So trends and transformations in architecture, in humanitarian needs. So this is her mapping. Yeah, violence and poverty is rampant. Future of work, experimentation, new communities, which also include online communities. We are experiencing it right now at the moment with the corona thing. Yeah, there's two kind of spreading. Yeah, the virus and the online fake news, and financing, and so on and so on and so on. So the world is changing. So no more working in silos. Many years back, no one can imagine that PAM is working with Mercy Malaysia. Tak sangka pun now we work like every month kan. Selalu sembang sajalah, buat tak. InsyaAllah buat. So yeah, thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, a very good morning. I'm Qari Anwar bin Khalid from Malaysian Relief Agency. I want to touch a bit on Malaysian Relief Agency, background of Malaysian Relief Agency. MRA is a humanitarian organization that assists those affected by natural disaster and also armed conflicts, that's mean in war zone. So we receive ECOSOC from United Nations, UN ECOSOC, that we enable MRA to deliberate in any UN deliberations. And we also as an associate member of Federation of Islamic Medical Association. So this is a brief background about MRA. Okay, in local, we are working with, you see, we have a lot of local programs, especially in volunteer training, indigenous development program. This is basically orang asli. We do a lot of housing for orang asli and also water and sanitation, wash. And in Bajau Laut. Bajau Laut is mostly stateless children in Pulau Mabul, Pulau Gaya, no? Because they are around 80% of Pulau Mabul residents is stateless. This means they don't have access to education, health. No? So we are building schools there, and also our doctors go and give a medical service in Pulau Mabul and also a few other places in Sabah especially. And then we work with Urban Poor, homeless project for education for the hardcore poor children. Rohingya Community School. We have 3 Rohingya Community School in Malaysia. This in Kel, and also in Terengganu, another one in Kedah. So we are planning to build another one in Johor, inshallah. And so we have orphans program, of course disaster relief. You know, Malaysia, almost every year we have flood problem, banjir, all these things. Okay, 8 in ASEAN countries, Japan and Bangladesh. We work in Nepal, Japan, Bangladesh, Thailand, Philippines, of course Malaysia, Indonesia, Myanmar. So you can see that mostly we work on, we have a non-food item, education, public amenities. This is how architect will come in with our programs. Water and sanitation, wash. Of course, mosque, we build also training, shelter. Shelter is a very basic thing in disaster areas and also in post-war conflict zones. Medical, food, and also advocacy. Aid are given to conflict areas in Syria, Bosnia, Lebanon, Palestine, Egypt, Pakistan, Somalia, Yemen, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka. Of course, not many people know about Sri Lanka conflict, but mostly in the northern part of Sri Lanka, in Trincomalee, in Mannar, it's a lot of destroyed houses and also a lot of destroyed amenities, everything. So this is very critical areas that we need to work. Okay, this I'm talking about wash, housing, school, and medical facilities. This is more relevant to what architect can contribute. So we are working with solar water pump because in Yemen, there's lack of water, but they have a lot of sun. So we use a solar water pump to have a water for our wash project. Then of course Indonesia, Pakistan, Myanmar, Somalia, Malaysia. This is a few projects that we do on a long-term basis. Because we have a short-term project, and we have a mid-term project, and we have a long-term project. Of course, Mercy and also my care doing the same thing. Okay, right of shelter to refugees. Under the convention relating to the status of refugees, state parties, that means parties that refugees went to, let's say Malaysia, but we didn't recognize the Geneva Convention on Refugees. Technically, we don't have refugees in Malaysia, but they have a lot of refugees here. So we are obliged to provide refugees with treatment as favorable as possible and not less favorable than accorded to aliens generally in the same circumstances. With regard to housing, this is very important. So it is a right of shelter to refugees. And then right of shelter for IDPs. The IDP is internal displaced person. The refugees is the people who cross-border refugees, but internal displaced people is within the countries. So internal displaced people recall that all IDPs have the right to adequate standard of living, that are minimum regardless of circumstances, and without discrimination. The competent authorities shall provide IDPs with ensure safe access to basic shelter and housing. This the host country had to provide all these things. This is a right of shelter for IDPs. Of course, not many people are doing this. This is in Palu, the latest disaster in Palu, earthquake. This okay, you can see one of the destroyed shopping center in Palu. Also, this they are going very fast. So we call our housing project Rumah Syukur. Rumah Syukur, as far as Mr. Hafiz said, we are doing more on a semi-permanent basis because after they have their income, they're stable, they can extend their house. So we have our housing project in Padang, especially in Indonesia, in Aceh, and also the latest one in Palu. So this is a very basic drawing for Rumah Syukur project, we call it. This is I take number 4, one of the house in number 4. So in Padang we built around 500 houses around that. With of course with support of our donors from Malaysia and also from the concerned individuals, inshallah. So this is our ex-President MRA, Dr. Abdul Razak Kecik. This is in Padang, the first house that we built in Padang. This is another house. This is in Palu. So we work with Malaysian architect to have a drawing. I'm not an architect, so we need to have an architect for all this project. So I just informed our architect what we need. Normally we need 2 rooms. We cannot make 1 room house. We need 2 rooms, because for the ladies and also for the gents. This is another housing project we're doing with Aqimat Foundation in Pakistan, in the Kuwait, Chasada area. For Rohingya refugees in Cox's Bazar, as you know, we have officially there are a few million in Cox's Bazar alone. They stay there. They have to stay there. This is one of the camp, the housing that we work with other NGOs to work is in Keng, Mona, Mesti Gona, Cox's Bazar. And this is a very basic shelter. When the newly arrived refugees, we need to do it very fast. So normally, apa kita buat this one, we build from bamboo. At least from what Mr. Hafiz told us, the dignity of the refugees. They have their own space. We need to do that. So they have their own space, they can be with their families, you know. So it's a very basic shelter, you know, but it's very useful for them. This is another, this is few shelter that they make by the IDP itself. This is in Sri Lanka, no? This is in Sri Lanka. The IDPs from northern part of Sri Lanka, they go to Trincomalee. So if you go to Trincomalee, there are two parts of Trincomalee, two sides of Trincomalee. You can go to a beach resort, no, the 5-star beach resort in Trincomalee, and you can see this also in Trincomalee. So this is the irony of the IDPs in certain countries, no? There are certain part of the town, they have a 5-star hotel. Certain part of the town, there's a lot of IDPs. This is the IDPs. These IDPs from northern Sri Lanka. They go to Trincomalee and Mannar. No? This is because most of the house mosques destroyed during the war. So this is one of the mosques that we rehabilitate and we build it. Okay, this one in one of the not far from Trincomalee. This inside the mosque, newly built mosque. Okay, the another thing that hinders our project for shelters or for basic needs for the refugees and IDPs is the landmine. When you're going to go to, if you go into the war zone or conflict areas, there's a lot of landmine. No? Actually, the landmine, of course, you want to regulate, they use anti-vehicle landmine. No? But this landmine many costs, especially civilians. No? They also restrict the movement of people and humanitarian aid, make land unsuitable for cultivation, and deny citizens access to water, food care, and trade. This is a big problem in war zone that we have to face, especially for the humanitarian workers who want to relocate the people back to their own place. Sometimes it takes years to landmine it. So I think before the landmine is clear, I don't think we can go in and make a house or shelters or whatever, the water and sanitation, or we cannot do that without a clear landmine. This we are working in Sri Lanka. Of course, it's a very sensitive issue, especially with the Sri Lankan and Malaysian government about these IDPs in Sri Lanka, especially for, about the LTTE fighting with the Sri Lankan government. There are three parties, the Muslim, the Tamil, and also the Sinhalese. So we don't want to get caught up in all these political things, and so the wearing fashion. We just want to help. But of course, we face a lot of problems, especially in this part of, in this area, this type of areas, especially where the three parties. When the three parties, there's a wearing fashion, there's three parties, like what we happening in Bosnia. In Bosnia, when we work in Bosnia, we worked 10 years in Bosnia, but we use another, from Malaysia Relief International, not Malaysia Relief Agencies, because the fighting between Croat, Bosniak, and Serb, so we have to be very careful which area you want to work with, and also with the political thing that Malaysian government is supporting the Bosnian, so if you go to Serb areas, we have a tough time. So this is the thing that we have to, to look in. This is in Yemen. We work a lot in Yemen. We work from 2015 in Yemen. We have medical facilities that we rehabilitate, and also water and sanitation in Yemen. This is a landmine in Yemen. It's not, because there are two parts of Yemen also. If you go to Hadramaut, it's no problem, because Hadramaut is peaceful. But if you go to the coastal areas, from Sana'a up to the Aden, big problem. Taiz, Marib, because Dr. Azam, my colleague, be there because he is one of our medical coordinator in Yemen. This is in Sri Lanka. No? This is type of mine. This is why the problem is this mine that they hinder your movement. You cannot do shelter, you cannot do anything without clear the landmine. It's not to kill, but it's to maim. No? So this is the area we want to relocate back the IDPs, but when we found out all this mine, so we had to stop. No? Okay, the situation in Yemen now at present, 3.3 million people remain displaced from their homes. No? Estimated about 80% of the population, about 25 million, need of assistance. This is what's happening in Yemen now. Around 80% of the population need assistance. Over 11 million children in need of support. A lot of malnutrition case in Yemen, especially for children. So we need a lot of hospitals to rehabilitate the hospitals. We need to rehabilitate the clinics, school for the children, almost everything. So architect can play a very important role in these aspects. Huh? Because when we build a simple clinic, of course we need a drawing. No? And of course we need advice to make it lower the cost and how to make it faster. No? So we need the architect input on this thing. No? To be, what we call it, efficient, but at the same time at lower cost. No? And be fast. Okay, 70 million people lack access to safe water and sanitation. Economic collapse. They can afford food, water, medicines, and basic essential. Mostly international organizations that support them. So the war in Yemen now in the 5th years. Even the UN have called the humanitarian crisis there the worst in the world because it's really bad. It's really bad. This is, we're working from 2015 until now. This one, the figures in 2019. So we are working in Sana'a, Ajaf, Ma'rib, Shabwa, Seun, Mokala, Abian, Aden, Lahansh, and also Taish. All this area. No? Mostly in water sanitation. Of course, we have Korban, medical equipments, mobile clinic, hygiene kits, and then education, and also solar programs. This is, you can see these are malnutrition cases. A lot of this in Yemen. So this girl is 3 years old. You can see, I think she passed away after a few months I met her. So this is what is happening in Yemen. So we need a lot of clinics. We need a lot of clinics. We need a lot of malnutrition places that we can assist them, especially for the children. So we have a rehab building and medical clinic project in Yemen. So we have our own engineers in Yemen, Yemenis. No? Of course, if Malaysian engineers or Malaysian architect want to go there, we can assist, no problem. No? We can give input. No? That's what we do in Padang. But in Padang or in Palu, there's more safe areas compared to the war zone. This is a represent building of the medical clinic project also in Yemen, but we use, to make it fast, we use this container. But of course, we need to put air conditioning, ACs there, all these things. This is one of the places. I forget the name of the place. Dr. Azam, what is the place name? Yeah? Desert of Jufaina. Because we have around, how many thousand in the 25,000 IDPs in these particular places. So we need hospital, we need clinic, we need school, we need water and sanitation, because to cater for 25,000, and now they keep coming in. because recently, last 2 weeks, there's a big fighting in Marib. So the part of the camp, the part of the IDP's camp in Marib destroyed. So they're moving to this area. So I think by now maybe 35,000. No? So they need a lot of shelter, of course. The school, very simple school. We had to do this very fast. We call it Shuko school. The children have to learn to study. So very basic thing. But of course we will do it much better school for them, inshallah. When we are talking about architect, most people think that architect is just for housing or building, But architect contribute a lot, especially in water and sanitation project, WASH. Because we need a drawing how to have a water channel and also the building to put machineries, all these things, So we need that. And also a lot of layman thing, humanitarian work is just to provide basic need, food, medicals. No? But I think beyond that, the humanitarian work is beyond medical and food or shelter. We need to have also water and sanitation, because you can see, water and electricity, the first element of country infrastructure they put our service when we become in war. No? So the civilian had to flee from their particular areas. They have to come, you can see it, to go to the IDP camp. So they don't have any water, no basic need. So they drink dirty water, they pick up waterborne disease, they can't wash, so they get hygiene-related disease, epidemic break out. People die in the conflict, but more civilian killed by disease than the bullets. So this is, we need to see beyond the war, beyond, the conflict, in the conflict zone itself. But how we want to assist the IDPs, especially for water and sanitation, toilet. Because a lot of disease in disaster zone and also in conflict zone. Okay, this is I have another slide, I'm sorry. Because we have 8 big water pump project, water and sanitation project in Yemen. So this is the project is because about 90.3 million Yemenis do not access to clean water and sanitation. So we respond to water sanitation and hygiene project on this thing. Okay, but they don't have electricity. They don't have the petrol is very expensive. Diesel is very expensive, even though they are just bordering Saudi Arabia and UAE, and Oman. This area was surrounded by very rich country, very rich country. Oman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, but this is the poorest country around that region. This is toilet. This is in Cox's Bazar. So we make a toilet. This is a basic, very basic need for hygiene. And of course, they have a deep well and water pump. This one is a water pump, and this is deep well. Okay, solar water pump. We use solar to have a water in our water and sanitation project in Yemen, because they don't have electricity, lack electricity. So this solar water pump also can supply electricity to that particular areas. So we built so this is one of the location in Yemen. This is a very big water pump that can cater to 10,000, 15,000 people. So basically this is we are using our local engineers to do this, no? Alhamdulillah. This in all this another part in Yemen. This is a very big solar farm that we can have electricity and also electricity to pump in the water, you know, from deep underground. It's around 100 meters, 150 meters. You know, it's very deep. You can see before and after. If you have water, you can do agriculture. So if you can have an agriculture program, you have food to sustain, for sustainability for them. We no need to bring food from outside. So this is very important for the water project, so that they can plant themselves fruits and also the vegetables. No? This is another part. You can see the green, all these things. Before this, real desert, they're up there. Kalau nampak sini kan, this area is green. This part of our project that we empower the community, the empowerment of the community to run their own solar pump, water pump. You know? So we train them. We call it a Takdir program, whereby they themselves maintain the places, they maintain the equipment, you know? And they themselves write a report and tell us what we're going to expand, what we're going to do after that. Tak boleh. Of course, this is a small, very small, most lighting project. So we also have a water pump in Indonesia. There's also a big water pump in Padang. In Palu, no? So you can see we have a Puskesmas, the Kantor Desa, Tanah Hibah Edward, Tanah Hibah Jira, Ona Ogi. So we, Malaysia Anglo Agency, we are non-political, non-religious. No, we didn't discriminate by religion or nationality. So this Tanah Hibah, you can see Tanah Hibah Edward. So they cannot say zakat or apa ni namanya, wakaf. So they say hibah because they are Christian. No, because there are some part in Palu, there are a lot of Christian areas. So we work both areas, Muslim and also in Christian areas. Huh? So this Tanah Hibah, Gira, Nongo, okay, this is all that we built in Palu. Of course, this also, so we need architect for this. So this is a very raw. So we need a better architect who can come and advise us. Ini cepat punya kan, want to do it fast. Of course, this is the area. This is in Malaysia, like Mr. Hafiz said, there's still a lot of problem in Malaysia, especially in Kelantan. This is in Kelantan, no? To have a clean water. Kita take for granted about water. Tapi in Kelantan, Sabah and Sarawak, like Mr. Hafiz said, there's still a lot of problem. So this is one of our project in Kelantan, to provide clean water to one of the very remote areas. No? This one we work with one organization, it's a water organization, I forget the name. We work with them, so they give their expertise how to do it. No? Pardon me? Red R, yes. We work with Red R for this project. This is hydropower project in one or part in Pakistan. Hydropower project is whereby we have also a canal for cultivation, no? for agriculture. We work with Akimat Foundation, this one. So this in this in Pakistan after the earthquake. Can I? Huh? Okay. Oh, okay, sorry. Habib Fitri. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is in Patagram. This one is for agriculture, no? So this is this house. So that is the agriculture part of the Patagram area. Okay. The most vulnerable victim during the war in disaster zone is children. You know, so I think we focus a lot on children issue, especially on their education. So if education, they need school, their health. We need hospital and clinics. So this is where architect can come in and assist us, especially to build the facilities. Now this is in the IDPs in Trikomali, the children. This is a right of the children. This is in Yemen. No? These are children in our mobile clinic in Yemen. This is in Gaza. We have education, also health program in Gaza. This is just our neighbor in southern Thailand. As you know, in southern Thailand, in Patani, they have a conflict in Patani. So they have a lot of also orphans and conflict victims. We don't call it war victim because this is quite sensitive between Malaysian government and Thai government. So we work very discreetly in these areas. No? Because we have so-called the ASEAN non-interference policy, whereby we cannot interfere in other ASEAN countries. So we have to work very discreetly in these areas, especially in Indonesia or in Thailand. So this is our project in Thailand. This I want to show, this is the children, 15 years old. A lot of children, if you don't take care, this is called what do you call it, that children army, whatever is it, no? So this is in Yemen. No? So it's a gun culture. No? So we need to rehabilitate them. We need to give them education. We need to take care of them. This is the most important thing for future generation. If not, dia akan jadi macam ni. Okay, thank you. So this is IDPs in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, this is actually my first time visit PAM Center. In previous office in Kuala Lumpur, maybe that one, I went there several times, but this is my first time. So my talk will be more on experience that we have in MyCare, Humanitarian Care Malaysia, and partly my involvement in Humanitarian Care Malaysia. And maybe I'm just explaining the experience that we have. We have already 10 years in, MyCare established in 2010, and now 2020, inshallah. Okay, as stated in the objective of our session, okay, just want to share what MyCare is doing and maybe how could we discuss together and maybe help each other to the issue of humanitarian. Okay, I'm currently lecturing in University Sains Islam Malaysia, previously with UTM, and I'm also Board of Trustee, Lembaga Pemegang Amanah Humanitarian Care Malaysia, MyCare, and also Pengurusi International Education, Scientific and Culture Organization, which is another NGO established in Malaysia, focused on the scholarship for students from the conflict zone area to study in Malaysia. Okay, my focus will be related to kerjaya dan juga kesukarelawanan. Maybe I'll talk both language, English and Malay. Okay, kesukarelawanan ataupun volunteerism. Of course, every one of us ada kerjaya masing-masing. We have our own profession, particularly architects, and maybe lecturer in architect. But at the same time, we are doing, insyaAllah, try to get involved in the kesukarelawanan ataupun volunteerism. Many of us in MyCare basically is volunteers. Everyone, they have their own job, their own profession, but at the same time, they try to spend time to contribute to the humanitarian works. Okay, as pensyarah di university, we need to do pengajaran atau pembelajaran, teaching, penyeliaan, for supervision, student, particularly undergraduate or postgraduate, master and PhD, penyelidikan, perundingan, penerbitan, as well as pentadbiran. It's a lot to do, basically. And this is some of my involvement in architecture. As a lecturer, I didn't practice, and through research and development, supervision. So one of the project is UTM Solar Hope, Solar Decathlon competition in Detong, China in 2012. And we won, and basically this building bought by one businessman in China, and we brought back 350,000 Malaysian ringgit, and with that we built UTM Eco Home in 2016, which is considered like a prototype showcase of low energy architecture. And then in 2018, together with USIM, we entered another competition called Solar Decathlon Middle East in Dubai. And we brought back the building, and inshallah is in the process of rebuilding in the campus of USIM, inshallah. So these are the only involvement in architecture, if I can say. So talking about the humanitarian, you know, many countries involved in conflicts area now, in Lebanon, Palestine, and many of our friends just now explaining and mentioning about this. And this is the area of where MyCare is trying to help, to give hands. Palestine, one of the considered like longest since 1947 or 1948, when Israeli took over Palestine and only left a little bit Gaza Strip, as well as some area in West Bank, and blockade in Gaza, Gaza dikepung from north, south by Egyptian, east, west, as well as from the airspace. Okay, that is Gaza. All right. And this is the situation in the border. This is the only route to enter Gaza from Egypt. All right. So it's very difficult. The last time that I entered Gaza is in 2018. Before that is 2013. After 5 years, we are waiting. And this one is 2013, before when I went there with Tan Sri Zulkifli, now is director in UIA, under the mission called Higher Institution Malaysia Palestinian Dialogue. So that time we have a special permission to enter Gaza, and this is what is inside Gaza, healthcare. Because of the blockage, very difficult to get medicine, and children without any place for playing. Of course, no playing ground that we can find in Gaza. The housing situation is very, very bad. And this is Tan Sri Zul, our rector in UIA, when we visited one of the poor house at night. And we can see how, maybe you can see from his face, how he feel about the situation in Gaza. And this is the recent visit, which is 2018, during Ramadan. And at the very poor area as well, in southern of Gaza, which is in Khan Yunis. The other part of Palestine, which is in West Bank, there is walls surrounded, surrounding their villages, and very difficult to get to the school, students, you know. And even for the ladies, also difficult to get to the hospital, to get treatment and to deliver their babies. Another area in other countries, which is Iraq, still in conflict. Yemen, as mentioned by our friend just now. Lebanon, I think about 12 refugee camps, Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon. And from the north till to the south. And even getting worse when conflict in Syria, and more Syrian and Palestinian cross the border of Syria to enter Lebanon. Okay, in Syria, situation is still very bad over there. Okay, there's refugee camps, Rohingya, Arakan, and they become refugees. And about 150,000 refugees now in Malaysia. And thanks to MRA just now, you have 3 schools now. And you're going to build another school in Johor. So maybe we can discuss. I have one in Kulai, Johor, for refugees students. Okay, Rohingya. And looking at SDG, very beautiful hope that we have, if we look into goal number 1 until maybe number 11, almost very difficult to fulfill till now. Yeah. Even when we talk about number 16, goal number 16. Yeah? So I don't know how we could achieve in 2030 SDG. But we try our best, I think, to contribute in whatever way. Okay, now, so based on those conflict area and the humanitarian problem and issue, so we established MyCare in 2010 with this vision of together nurturing communities towards a caring and peaceful world, inshallah. Yeah, and our mission is galvanizing resources and expertise of Malaysian and the global community towards the caring and peaceful world, hopefully. So this will hopefully support the achievement of SDG 2030. But how many % we can contribute, we don't know, okay? And these are our board of trustee. 2 of them, me and architect Said Makradi, we have an architectural background. And 3 of them with the medical background. 2 engineers. And the rest is administrator. So all of these contributing their time without any allowance or any claim or whatnot. So And we hope that whatever we gather, the donation from the public, we can disburse to the appropriate recipient. So I'm going to go one by one based on the objective of MyCare. Number one is to disseminate accurate information. Information is very important, sharing knowledge, sharing information, the correct information that we gather during our mission, and through our representatives from the countries that in conflict. And of course, objective number two is to garner financial support, Ringgit Malaysia, either from the public or from the government agencies or from the corporate bodies. Okay, and then to channel financial support diligently and provide appropriate solution to the beneficiaries. We try our best to manage all the financial support that we receive from the public to give it to the most appropriate recipient. And number three, to network. Number four is to network and collaborate professionally with local and international organizations. And hopefully that maybe with PAM or architects that maybe could work with us in future, inshallah, we can discuss. Okay, the objective number one is through, of course, website, FB, bulletin, books and whatnot. Maybe I'll show you some of our, so this is our, our publication, books, several books that we publish, written by our board of trustees and our activists, and also activities that not only to collect money but also to give awareness to the public, particularly in Malaysia, and to organize symposium, conference, talks and whatnot. Okay, and we get involved in any issues that hopefully will trigger the public about the situation. In this case, recently related to what Donald Trump is deciding to help Israeli. So, and then we make a media conference. And number two is to garner financial support in whatever we could. From the school level, we give a talk to schools mainly. We develop a module for school, even kindergarten as well, to make them aware the situation around the world. Okay, in whatever opportunity we have, sometimes we have activities with publics, with a motor club or whatnot, to organize campaigns so that we can collect a lot of donation. Because more and more money needed to help those are in need. This is a module that we developed together with the Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Johor, and we try to educate children in secondary school and primary school, and try to educate them to be care with their friend in the conflict area. And of course, with the campaign called They Are Also Our Friend, mereka juga kawan kita. So this is a donation from the school children in Malaysia back to school in Palestine and in several countries in needs. Okay, more and more activities, and Alhamdulillah with EconSafe Cash and Carry, a lot of activities we organize with them since 2013 until now. If you go to any EconSafe outlet, you will see the donation box. For now, actually the focus is for a project called Medical for Gaza. The target is 3.1 million. Okay, we try to get involved other celebrities as well, we used to bring Avlin to Gaza together with us. And we did a lot of training as well. Several modules we have: training of volunteers, training of trainers, training of Palestinian specialists, things like that, as well as kursus pengurusan bencana, so that our activists and our volunteers have some skills when we need them to be in the disaster area. Okay, objective number 3 is to channel financial support diligently and provide appropriate solution. This is one of the example, Misi My Care to Myanmar. And then we bring food to them in Cox's Bazar. And also simple projects and mobile clinics. And for those refugees who arrive in Malaysia, we help them at the Depo Tahanan Sementara. And we try to help them in education as well. Education is very crucial for us, for the Rohingya refugees. For food and shelter in Malaysia, maybe they themselves can manage to find in whatever ways, through simple jobs, collecting recycled material or whatnot, But then for school, of course, one of the good thing for Rohingya community in Malaysia, as I mentioned, roughly about 150,000 in Malaysia, they themselves, usually they will have their own, what they call madrasah, small surah or something like that. They like to have to be with themselves. In Johor, I found that about 15 small communities, and they have what they call madrasah, but they only teach basic Quran and Salat. But I think for the future, we need to think of more than them, although sometimes we help them in their madrasah, in whatever we can. But at the same time, this is one of the center that we operate for the last 2 years, called My Care Center for Rohingya Education in Kulai. In Johor, Kulai, Kota Tinggi, and Kluang is one of the concentrated area where many communities, Rohingya communities there. So, and we spend in average 15,000 a month because we employ local graduate student to teach this Rohingya community with the integrated curriculum, academic as well as religion in this school. So this is the environment in the school in Kulai. All right. And at the beginning, actually, this school, we discussed with UNHCR, but till now, we still didn't get any support from UNHCR in Malaysia. But we continue with our own effort. Another effort is try to help Palestinians in Palestine. This is one of the mission that we get involved in 2010. Took us 40 days to arrive from London to Gaza. And after that, we follow up with a lot of projects, particularly during Ramadan. We distributed food, parcel, and iftar with them. Those 3 is our managers in Gaza. We have office in Gaza. And as I mentioned, recently we launched the Medical for Gaza together with EconSafe Cash and Carry. In 2014-15, we completed 1 school in Gaza together with EconSafe Cash and Carry, which cost around 2.6 million Malaysian ringgit. This school partly destroyed by the Israeli rocket. So that one's the school that when I visited 2018, Alhamdulillah, is completed. So this is one of the good partners between MyCare and industry or EconSafe Cash and Carry. So these are the people that need help to do operations. So the 3.1 million hopefully can help them to do operation. Okay, and this is the recent ambulance that we, through our agent in Egypt, we managed to bring in ambulance, 4 ambulance donated by EconSafe through our donation drive in EconSafe Cash and Carry. Okay, there's some, just to show you some project in the refugee camp in Syria. As mentioned by our friend just now, there is IDP, internal displaced refugees, as well as in the border of Turkey, Jordan, as well as Lebanon. Okay, this is a refugee camp in Syria, and we can see senyuman yang dilemparkan oleh seorang anak. Walaupun maybe this small box can last maybe not more than 1 week, but at least give them some relief, Okay, our project in local. Okay, apart from that, of course, bencana, MyCare, we have a plan for any natural disaster. For example, in Malaysia itself, Kelantan or whatnot, together with our local partner, I Bantu. So this is some of the project in Kelantan. In Kota Kinabalu, gempa bumi Kota Kinabalu, also orang asli, as well as in Nepal. Our group went there 4 times or 5 times, in Nepal. So these are some of the donation disbursed in Nepal. So we brought them over there, mobile clinic as well. And we can see how, happy the ladies meeting our volunteers. And this is in Lombok, Indonesia. So also together with EconSafe Cash and Carry. And if MRA just now, you have a house called Rumah Sejahtera. Syukur, yeah. In our case, we have Rumah Senyum. Rumah Senyum is very simple. It costs about 1,000 ringgit Malaysia only, and can be set up for our team over there. In one day, they can set up about 4 to 6 house. Usually, when earthquake happen, they will, stay in very big tent. So it's not comfortable, of course, sleeping with the children, with the adult, So the idea from our partner over there, PKPO, so they come up with called Rumah Senyum. So they will senyum when they got individual small, what we call Rumah Senyum, which is can accommodate two room basically inside there. Okay, also with EconSafe, the manager Encik Mas Imran, also okay, and also bantuan in Palu and Banten, during the earthquake as well as tsunami. So one of the project is Perahu for Palu. This is to help nelayan, fishermen, that their sampan destroyed by the tsunami. So we managed to contribute sampan so that the fishermen can go back to their, to get their rezeki from laut. Okay, so this is the penyerahan perahu. It's about 2,000 ringgit each of these. It's not that much. Okay, the last objective is networking, collaborative with international or local organization. For this, maybe we would like to invite PAM or architects, maybe if you want to work together with us. These are some of the collaboration that we have. Some of the achievement or recognition that we receive from our works for the last 10 years, and some awards given to our Board of Trustees due to their commitment. And also, we work with the government and involved in Freedom Flotilla, which is international movement to free Gaza. Okay, kesimpulannya, as a conclusion, I'm just explaining the 4 objectives of MyCare, and we are not doing enough yet, but we are still trying to improve our performance. But till now, for the last 10 years, we disbursed 130 million ringgit Malaysia to 22 countries that are either due to conflicts or due to natural disaster. Okay, so this is still 5th February, updated a few days ago by our office in, anyway, our head office is in Serdang. We have about 25 or 30 full-time staff. But the Board of Trustees is not basically executive. Okay, now we are celebrating 10 years of our work, Alhamdulillah, but we still plan for 2020. We have project called Berterusan and Cluster, and project Bermusim, and also project Kecemasan Bencana. So I'm just explaining you what is project cluster. We have pendidikan, pembangunan wanita, pelarian di Malaysia, such as Rohingya children, particularly on education, penajaan, makanan, and kesihatan. Together with ISCO, as I mentioned just now, we try to get fund from Middle East. I visited Qatar and Kuwait. Recently, we received for the first time donation from Qatar for our school in Kulai for education. For pendidikan, of course, we have some targets. Sebahagian fakta, 75 juta kanak-kanak dan remaja 3 hingga 18 tahun di 35 negara yang bergolak amat memerlukan bantuan pendidikan. So, this is what we are trying to do. Campaign, for example, back to school, campaign in school, so that apart from educating the school children, but at the same time we try to educate them, share whatever they have, maybe 10 sen, 50 sen, to donate to their friend. And for education, we have some project together with ISCO for sponsorship for postgraduate students from conflict zone, for example, Yemen or Syria or Palestine, to study in Malaysia, as we know that Malaysia is a good place for to further their study. With the education, we hope that they can go back and develop their country, insyaAllah. For pembangunan madrasah, for example, in Vietnam, try pemulihan Masjidil Aqsa, project Pam Air, rebuilding Gaza, such as schools and hospital and others as well. So these are some of the example of our project. And for wanita as well, because we have in MyCare, and we have agency called Rose to Rose. The advisor is Yang Bahagia Dr. Fauzia Hassan. She is very dedicated to help women, basically. In the conflict zone, usually women and children is the one that most affected. So if we can help the women, insyaAllah, they will take care of their children, while maybe their husband pass away during the conflict or whatnot, you know. So these are some of the example of a women's project, mainly to educate them or to set up a women's center such as in Cox's Bazar in Palestine, in Syria, border of Syria, as well as in Malaysia. We have one women's center for Palestinian in Malaysia. Okay, for kesihatan, as I mentioned, tabung kecemasan medical for Gaza is an ongoing project now. And for pelarian Malaysia, we have actually 2 schools, one in Kajang, in Serdang, and another one in Johor. Inshallah. And we have actually collaborated with our friend from Mercy and Emirates as well. Okay, for makanan, this is very important. Particularly, we focus this during Ramadan for iftar and food pack. And another one is tajaan anak-anak yatim. For Rohingya or Philippines or Palestine and Syria and Yemen as well. And of course for keluarga asnaf or keluarga miskin as well. Okay, this is our project bermusim, which is during Korban, during Ramadan, and winter relief, as well as Adopt Al-Hafiz in Gaza. Okay, these are some of the targets for 2020, inshallah. Okay, so these are our bank account, usually is audited every year, and we can basically share or we can discuss if we can work together for humanitarian issues, right? So anyway, terima kasih di atas peluang yang diberi from Humanitarian Camp Malaysia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.